And welcome back, everyone, to another SBYM podcast. This should be episode 6 at this point. By the time that this video is out, most of you guys should be starting finals or be done with school. So for those that are working on finals, good luck you guys. Just keep working hard. Those who have graduated or finished school, congratulations, you guys are finally over. Um, hope just checking up again. Hope you guys are all doing well. All right. For today's guest, we do have a special guest today. Okay. Most of you guys should know him or do know him in general. All right. He he's a big he's really involved with SP was it youth ministry, especially on the PR side. Okay. Uh, he's um he's a first year at UCI. Let's welcome Michael. How's it going, Michael?
Hey guys, things are going good. You know, it's at the time of recording, it's towards the end of the school year. We have like a few weeks left. By the time this podcast comes out, it's going to be during finals. So hopefully we'll do well in those.
How's school been for you so far? In
Um,
terms of quarantine?
School.
Which we will get into in a little bit more depth later, but just for like a gist.
School's good. If you guys don't know me or if you guys don't know that much about me, um, my name is Michael once again. I'm a first year student at UCI and I'm studying pharmaceutical sciences. And so basically, I want to become a pharmacist or study medicine. And so right now, Right now, I'm taking like biology, chemistry classes, as well as trying to um, get finished my GEs or general education classes. And so this school year so far has been good. Since it's my first year, it's not too bad, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of my college career.
I see. The main reason why I wanted to bring Michael up for this next podcast was because a while back we actually did a poll, right, Michael?
Hmm.
Asking some students about what do you want to hear about besides just like your core was it these guests we bring on and their relationships with God. What else did you want to hear about? And someone did bring up about school. So for someone that just started college and was in high school just not so long ago. Okay, I thought it was best just to bring on Michael. So thank you for coming on again. Okay, uh, with school, especially with COVID happening now, it's gonna be a lot different, obviously, coming up compared to like back then. Like for example, I don't know if you've heard, Michael, but SATs and ACTs aren't going to be required now for colleges, which is actually a pretty huge factor when it comes to school and getting accepted into colleges.
Yeah, I my dad actually just sent that article to our family's group chat. And honestly, like talking to some high school students, like I think there's mixed feelings about it. Some people are happy that they just don't have to take the test. But personally, for me, I would be kind of worried, even more worried if in this situation, because I feel that like the SATs, ACTs, even if you don't do super well on it, like it still gives you some sense of security, like knowing where you stand for that college, if you might get admitted or if you might not. So
Not
I don't know.
not even just that, but like at the end of the day, each school has a different curriculum. Like not even just between districts, but between schools. Each schools have a certain level of like have a certain level how hard their academics are. So I really do think the standardized testing does give like a certain medium to where everyone can take, so that like everyone is roughly around the same level, and then from that scale we can see how smart someone is or how smart someone is. I don't know. Just from my point of view, like I can see it both ways. Like it can be a huge advantage or a huge disadvantage, because I really do think sometimes standardized testing doesn't really determine how smart you are, because it's meant for people who know how to take tests. Just because you know how to take a test doesn't mean like you actually retain the knowledge um or was it actually know the information. Like when I went through going through all of the SAT practices and everything before I took the SAT or ACT. It was basically just about how to find like the answer the fastest way, because everything's timed and everything's so
Yeah, for
crunched
sure.
in together that like it's not even like, yes, they kind of have to teach you how to, like, how to dissect the passage, or how to do certain problems, but at the end of the day it's all about shortcuts too. That's a huge factor into bringing up your score as high as you can, which isn't really fair to a certain degree, which is why I don't like the SAT sometimes. But at the same time, it can be unfair in the sense of like, schools having different levels of academics. So one guy might look really smart at this certain school just because their academics is slightly easier than like if he went to another school. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And let's just kind of go into about your high school experience though. I don't know if many people know about this, but you did go to Pacifica, right?
Yeah, so for high school, all 4 years I went to Pacifica. And if you guys don't know where that is, it's in the Garden Grove district, more towards the
Like near like Rancho and everything, right?
yeah, near Rancho. It's maybe 10-15 minutes away from Knott's Berry Farm. So that
It's like,
area,
yeah, it's like deep like Garden Grove area,
yeah,
which is
it's
like
like on
near
the
Anaheim.
other side of Garden Grove,
Uh-huh.
from where most of our listeners come from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
And
I went to Pacifica for 4 years. Um, when I was at Pacifica, of course, I took all the classes. I took regular classes, AP classes. I also joined clubs. I did sports, all of that stuff.
what kind of clubs did you join though? Because nowadays, like, it's not even about grades anymore. Like, I remember coming, not even coming into high school, but like around middle school, like it was usually all about like, grades was the most important thing. But then like right when I started getting into high school, like there was a certain, it started becoming a thing where like you got to be a lot more well rounded than just like grades. So what other what clubs did you join?
Um, yeah, for sure. Like clubs are really important. So when I was in high school, I joined mostly service clubs. So like NHS, Red Cross, Boise, and also like just to make sure I enjoyed myself a little, I joined those fun clubs like ping pong, all that stuff. But it's mainly the service clubs.
I see. Which out of the three that you picked, which one were you most involved in?
I'd say for sure I was the most involved in NHS or the National Honor Society.
How was that experience like? Because I know, um I think for the most part when it comes to NHS, you usually start joining in NHS like your second year for most schools, but everyone has different criteria and different experiences. Can you talk a little bit more about your experience at NHS at Pacifica?
Yeah. So I decided to join NHS. Main reason was because I wanted some service club to put into my college application.
And
And
NHS is a really good one, by the way, for those that like are still in high school and like need like some clubs to put on. If you can start going and start applying for a CSF and NHS, those are the two really big ones that you should have on your applications, by the way.
yeah, for sure. So I know it's different for each school, but specifically for Pacifica, when you want to join NHS, there's a few steps. You have the application itself, where you need to provide a transcript showing that you have, I believe, at least a 2.5 or a 3.0 GPA.
Hmm.
You also need to talk about why you want to join, what your specific leadership skills are,
Hmm.
and also you have to have teacher recommendations where they also rate you on like your leadership skills and your um, like your study habits and everything. And
Mm.
so after that application, they go through it, and then we had group interviews
Hmm.
just to make sure that people aren't joining for the wrong reasons. And then you're in.
Mm. I see. Yeah, yours is actually kind of slightly different from mine. I'm actually looking up the modern days NHS eligibility requirements, but I think for the most part, um, we're like pretty much kind of in line. But like I think for us, I think we needed at least like actually I'll just read off the eligibility requirements. But when you're joining in, um, if you're joining as a sophomore, you need it because at modern day we need at least 80 hours to begin with to finish the whole all 4 years. You need 80 hours. So like it doesn't matter if you like had zero like your senior year, as long as you finish 80, you're able to get your diploma. But if you're joining in NHS as a sophomore, you needed at least 25 hours. It had to be recorded already. And then you also needed to have two extracurriculars like a club, job, sport, church group, Boy Scouts, and show evidence of leadership. Um, Leadership is definitely like one of the biggest things I can guarantee across all high schools in terms of their NHS Cup. The main thing that they're looking for is leadership. In terms of your applications, and after you getting accepted, what kind of activities did you guys do in within NHS?
Yeah. So, for NHS, since it is a service club, it's less socials, more work.
Hmm.
And part of our requirements just to stay in the club, not to be kicked out, was that we needed 10 service hours each semester at least.
Each
And
semester?
yeah, each semester.
Wow.
Since unlike modern day, like public schools, you don't really there's no certain service hour requirement that you need to graduate. All the
Hmm.
service that you do comes from the clubs. And
Hmm.
so just to make sure to be because an eligible member, graduating member of NHS, you have to
Hmm.
have I believe 100 hours in total. And so we had to make sure at least 10 each semester so we can be on track to stay as an NHS member.
I see. And then what did you gain the most out of NHS? Because if I'm being honest with my experience, the fact that I already the fact that I already had the hours, or the fact that they already required hours at Modern Day, we didn't really have that many like service projects to begin with. But like I guess that's a plus for me because they already required us to have certain hours already. But like we only did like certain like food drives, toy drives, a lot of drives just in general. So it's just us contributing and just helping out in terms of those. But in terms of like service projects, we didn't have to do too much just because we already put in our work just to get into NHS.
Yeah, for Pacific, we since we didn't really have any required amount of service hours,
Hmm.
I just joined just because I knew that, this would look good on the application. I didn't join because I wanted to do the services. Of course, the stole would be nice, but the main reason was for college. But
Hmm.
once we got in with all the requirements just to stay in the club, um, I spent more time trying to find service hours to do both in the club and outside the club.
Hmm.
One of them specifically was the senior citizen service, where
Mm.
it wasn't a requirement at first,
Hmm.
but in starting my junior year and going on to senior year, that became a requirement. We had to do at least one a semester.
Hmm.
And for me, through that, like those senior citizen services, I really found myself enjoying it. Like when I first went, I didn't expect to have fun. I thought it was like, oh, senior citizens, they can't really do anything. And
I
I'm
mean,
just here.
that's a big misconception. I feel like though.
Yeah, for sure. So like that's what I thought. I thought that since the senior citizens, I'm just there to get hours. I'll do it, but it doesn't mean I have to enjoy it. But once I got there, I really found it fun. Like one thing was that my friends were there too doing the service with me. So obviously that would make it fun. But just another thing is like the senior citizens, they're super fun to hang out with and talk to because well, they come from the same area. They've been a teenager and they understand everything that you go through, and just talking to them about our lives and talking to them about their lives, it really gives you a strong connection and a really enjoyable time.
I see. Um, I see. Let's talk about some of the other clubs that you're involved in. So like Boys League and Red Cross. Obviously, it seems like you're pretty involved with NHS, and like you not only did you do the requirements, but you also enjoyed it. How was your experience like with Boys League and Red Cross at Pacifica? Because like I said, each club at different high schools are gonna be totally different. Just because it's like NHS here, was it the NHS might be a little bit different, or Boys League here might be different from Boys League, or they might not have Boys League. Like for more day, we didn't have Boys League.
Mhm. Yeah, so like I talked about, NHS was the main club that I did services with.
Mhm.
The other clubs were that I also participated with were Red Cross and Boys League, but more so Boys League.
Mhm.
So a little bit of background about our school's Boys League. Um, I believe they did it before I was there. When I was a freshman, they also had Boys League, so I joined that
Mhm.
just because I thought it'd be cool. I thought I'd have a good experience.
Mhm.
But it didn't turn out that well. And all the other years in my high school career, like the club just didn't it wasn't functioning properly. Like we couldn't get any services.
Mhm.
We couldn't really have any events.
Mhm.
And so because of all the failed attempts for the first 3 years of my high school, I decided during my senior year that I
Mhm.
would try to reinstate it and make it a little bit better, make it more functional. And
Mhm.
so we didn't have elections, so I just grabbed a whole bunch of people that I knew, um, gave them positions, talked about them what we want for the club, and then we reinstated it.
I see. And then after reinstating, were things going as planned and like as you would like, or like did things hit the fan? How did was it? What were the results? Restarting Boys League again.
Yeah. So when I first started, since I was the one that decided to reinstate it, I was the president. So I had all these plans. And at first, talking to the other board members, I thought it'd be super good. I thought we'd be able to get it back, um, get it going for the rest of the years that it could.
Mhm.
But of course, like, um, excuse me, not everything goes as planned. So
Mhm.
I had this whole idea of like, we're gonna be a good club, we're gonna have services, we're gonna have socials, we're gonna have all these things, and then people are gonna want to join. And due to some factors, some of it being just the school's demographic,
Mhm.
and also just our resources,
Mhm.
um, our plans sort of fell through. In the end, we're still I'd say we're still doing better than some of the past years, but it still wasn't as good. It wasn't good enough that I'd say it'd be considered a good club at the school.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to starting up an old club or a new club, just in general, it's always going to be hard, especially just for the fact that I mean, the reality is just that boys league and girls league is like mainly like high schools that have like mainly like Asian people as like the demographics, like they're usually more inclined to do boys league and girls league because that's what they know. But like, I feel like what was it Pacifica? It's a little bit more diverse compared to the other Garden Grove district high schools. So it makes sense that boys league um didn't end out as well as you like, but at least you got it um better than what it started off as or whatever it was. But I think you hitting boys league is a really important fact for like these high schoolers that's watching this podcast, which is well the reality is that most of these clubs like you're just joining just to kind of have on your application. Let's just be honest, But it's not only is it important to have as many quality clubs on your application as you can. It's also important that you also put in some work into it too. So it's like not only was Michael able to say that he was in boys league, but he said that he was president. He was able to try to start things up again. That's what colleges do want to see, like your involvement within the club too. That's just as important as joining a club. So even though you might have like you know eight clubs to put down, if you can only write about like one or two, that's not going to look as strong as if you have like three or four strong ones and those are the only clubs you put on there, you know what I mean? um let's let let's move on. Besides clubs, you did say that you played some sports too, right? What sport did you play?
Yeah. So when I first came into high school, I was considering, because I did know I wanted to play a sport. I was considering like swim, volleyball, tennis, and in the end, I decided to play volleyball. So I played volleyball for 3 years from freshman year to junior year.
Wait, why did you stop your junior year? I mean, like you're already on your third year, like you might as well just finish off, right?
Yeah, so I was supposed to play during my senior year. I was a setter,
Mm-hmm.
which at our school we actually didn't have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those.
Mm-hmm.
And so I played for 3 years. I was a captain for 2 of those years.
Mm-hmm.
And so coach already had me on the team for that year on the roster. I was set to play, but
Mm-hmm.
coach also wanted it that all the players had to be there to practice
Mm-hmm.
during sixth period. And unfortunately for me, I had 6 classes and I couldn't rearrange them so I could have an open sixth period. And
Mm.
so I was removed from the team just because I wouldn't be able to practice as much as everybody else.
Yeah, that's a common thing for sure that I see like for high school athletes. Like they're always gonna expect you to have like, at least like a period or a block where you can just play the sport. So that oh man, that actually kind of sucks. Like you weren't able to finish your senior year playing varsity and everything, but it's okay. You know, I mean, realistically speaking, none of us are gonna be like like these major athletes or anything, unless you are projected to be a really big star or player. Then kudos to you. But the reality is that like not only do you want to have all these clubs, extracurriculars and everything, the main important thing is to have fun. So at least you had fun playing volleyball for the 3 years.
Yeah, it was a good time. Like I met good friends. I just enjoyed the sport itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. And even though I wasn't able to play volleyball my senior year, I still kept in touch with my team members, and we're still able to talk. We had a good time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even just sports, but like if you don't play sports yourself, as long as you just try to get yourself involved into something, just so that you guys get used to, connecting now with like other people, so that you help your social skills to begin with, and it can help you out later in the future too. Just kind of a little bit about my side where before for high school too. I mean, like I think I joined pretty much kind of things similar to what you had. I had Red Cross, I had NHS, I had CSF. I played sports for only 2 years. Um, all these stuff they end up adding up. So it's like even though I didn't fully commit for basketball for all 4 years because I mean like I just wasn't good enough just to play all 4 years at Marday, if I'm being honest. As long as I had those 2 years, even though I just played those 2 years, those were honestly the best 2 years of my um, in terms of like my basketball career, just in the sense that I just learned so much from the sport, just from learning from Coach McKnight, which is the head varsity coach at Mater Dei, and just all the other coaches that he brought in and everything. Like it honestly brought so much more information that I know now. That like that's why like I mean, not many people know about this about me, but like I do coach basketball at the moment too. I coach because of them, but it's like I wouldn't have been able to coach and like enjoy coaching kids if I didn't try out for basketball. So it's like even if you're intimidated with something, just try it out. At the end of the day, it's not gonna hurt you. It's just high school. So just try out, do what you love. But the more important thing is just be involved and like do the things that you enjoy for like and have like good quality work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's like there's no consequence for trying it and not ending up not being able to do it. Like at least you tried it. You gave it a chance. And even if you don't get it, like it is a good experience. You do learn a lot from it.
Hmm. Um, not. I mean, we're talking so much about all these extracurriculars, but obviously, extracurriculars isn't like the main focal point when it comes to college applications. It's obviously the academics. It's just the extracurriculars do support your academics and shows that you're a well-rounded person. I just wanted to ask you and let the viewers know how's your high school experience like in terms of like more of the academic side. Like, were things easy for you? Was it hard? Like what was that experience like?
For sure, the first year or 2 years they were pretty easy. Of course, like it's freshman sophomore year. Your classes aren't too hard.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd say that like just throughout the 4 years, I did pretty decent. But at the time, like I felt that I wasn't doing good. Like
Hmm.
for some of my classes, I got a few Fs on tests, which brought my grade to like Ds and Fs,
Mm.
which really um, brought me down.
But what factored into you getting your D's and F's? Because obviously, I'm assuming that you're able to pick yourself back up and maintain the grades in order to get into UCI.
Yeah, so I'd say one of the main reasons is because I was playing volleyball. So the times that my tests grades, my quiz grades, and my overall grades, they dropped.
Mhm.
They tended to be around that spring season when I was practicing and playing.
Mhm.
Part of it was that just like I was spending more time playing than actually studying. But another thing is that like just mentally I was kind of out of it. Like I wanted to do well in school, I wanted to do well in volleyball, but I felt that like I wasn't doing as well as I should be doing, and that
Mm.
really like brought the mood down for me.
So it was a really big mental thing for you when it comes to you having like your slump.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was able to do it, but I feel that just because I felt that sort of like that bump that I couldn't get over, like it really made it difficult for me to try to get it back up and everything.
How were you able to bring up back up your grades and everything? Even though you like felt all this pressure. I'm assuming you had some pressure from your parents too, not like every other parent should give you, or Asian parents especially. But pressure from parents, wanting to do well in the sport. Just by the sounds of it, seems like it was kind of hard to just balance both because you wanted to do well in both. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say that it was I felt very pressured. It
Hmm.
started off with pressure from my parents cuz like all parents, they want their kids to do as great as they can. Like
Hmm.
they won't settle for just a C or
Hmm.
just a B. They want you to get like a B, B plus, A plus.
Yeah.
So there was that pressure that I felt. And honestly, I also put pressure on myself just because I wanted to do better.
Hmm.
And so when I hit those slumps, I'd say that it really motivated me because I knew for sure I did not want to end the semester with that grade and fail classes.
Hmm.
And so I made sure to study really hard so I knew that for sure I could pass this class. And it's not just that motivation too, like from my grade. It's also that like, I had people the people that I surrounded myself with, all my friends, they
Hmm.
tended to do well in their classes too. So I just had to make sure that like I was on a similar level as them, make sure I'm passing those classes with good grades.
Mm.
So I knew that I had a chance at going to college.
I see. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm assuming you were able to bring most of your grades up and have a decent GPA at the end.
Oh yeah, so I was able to bring like my Fs like 50%. I was able to manage like some of the classes I managed to get a C, some of the classes I managed to get like a B.
Hmm.
And so at the end of the year, like it was all good. It's not as good as I'd like it to be, but at least it's still passing.
Mm, I see. I mean, for the most part, it sounds like you have like a pretty good application. What and then so those were the two main things that we hit, which was academics, extracurriculars. Let's go on the side of test scores. Obviously, you're gonna need test scores and everything to do well. Or was it you need good test scores just to get into good schools? What were your scores like, and what was your experience like with like working with all the standardized testing?
I'd say that like I hated testing. Like honestly, I'm not good at testing, I would say, especially when it comes to multiple choice. But of course, like for the listeners, um, if you guys are still in high school, and if you're on the younger side, then you guys won't really have to worry about like the SAT, ACT. But that was a big part of the application that I held myself accountable for. Like I was trying to do as good as I can because each
Mm,
school, like they give you an that their students got when they took the test. And
So
so
yeah, so
I
they usually take
sure.
like an average, right? Like
Yeah,
and then what did you when did you start what do you say? When did you start studying for all the standardized testings? Because I know people who start like like eighth grade, sophomore year, just maybe earlier around that range. When did you start learning?
I started. I think it was the summer after my sophomore year.
Hmm.
Um, and I wasn't taking any classes. I just did like Khan Academy, did some practice problems, and I definitely started studying more in my junior year because that was around the time that like I'd be taking it.
Mhm.
And like for the APs, I just studied when I had those tests.
Mm. Must be nice that you didn't have to go to like SATs or anything. Like for me, I had to go to. I'm pretty sure most Asians like know this place, but like Elite. So I went to Elite like starting like my sophomore year, and like honestly, going to Elite like it helped a little bit just for the fact that you're just constantly taking these tests, so you're not as burned out as like compared to like another person who's taking a test like for like the first time or whatever. But the reality is just like you can't. It's at that level and at that age, as well, because just some background, I did come in as like I started doing all these SAT stuff incoming junior year. It's like you already kind of know like your information. Like it's really hard to improve, especially as a junior. So it was like for me, it was just learning like small tricks here and there just to get through and get all these what was it tricks just down just so that I can like go through the test as fast as I can while getting the correct answer. But like honestly, my personal opinion is like if I were to go back, I would not have gone to Elite again. That was just pure hell. I
Yeah,
mean,
thank
standardized testing is
goodness.
just
Like
pure hell in general.
yeah,
You know what
thank
I mean?
goodness I wasn't like subject to taking those tests or
Uh huh.
taking those classes. Like where like my older siblings, Paul and Tekla,
Uh huh.
if you guys don't know, like they didn't have to do it. The three of us self-studied just because like we wanted to make sure that we had a good amount of money heading into college so we can pay for it.
Hmm.
But I did hear about Elite from my friends and also my little sister. She
Hmm.
took Elite last year, and like from what I hear, like it sounds horrible. Like it's not fun at all.
It's literally a boot camp. And I honestly don't think it's worth the money. But hey, parents are gonna do what they can just get their kids to like get the highest score possible.
Mhm.
Um, so after for your standardized testing, what did you end up getting in terms of like your SAT and like ACT scores?
Yeah. So I took each of the tests 3 times
Mm,
because after 3 times, the schools tend to start taking your average score,
mm,
which
mhm,
is not what you want because some scores you're going to get lower, some scores you get higher. And
mhm.
so out of those 3 times, for the SAT, my highest score was 1410
Oh
and
wow.
19 on the essay.
Mm,
And for the ACT, I got 32 out of 36 and 10 on the essay.
wow. Okay. Okay. Someone's pretty smart over here. um, one thing that I do hear because I didn't experience this personally was that like your rankings at your high like public high schools play a factor into college apps too. Is that true?
I'd say that they kind of do. Um, your rankings, I don't remember if you get them on your report cards, but for sure on your transcripts, it
Hmm.
says what your ranking is out of how many people in your class, and it it gives you like a sense of it helps you understand where your standing is, which colleges you might be able to get into, which ones can be your safety schools.
Hmm.
But for me and my friends specifically, um, we held ourselves accountable for our ranks. Like we had a sense of pride that we
Hmm.
wanted to keep
Hmm.
because we were part of the like not to toot my own horn, but we were part of the like the top 15% of our class
And that
just
makes like a
because
huge
yeah.
difference, right? Like colleges look at like your like the top 15% of like each school, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if modern day have this. I think they probably did, but UCs they do have a system where it's like if you're in the top 9% of your school or like all of California, then you're guaranteed a spot in at least one of the UCs.
Hmm. Oh
Which
yeah, we did have that, but one thing that we didn't have was like school rankings. So it's like I think I do remember something about like the top 9% of school, but like one thing that we didn't have was like just like the general ranking just the general ranking within the school body. So like schools won't be able to see like what your rank was within like the whole student body, but they'll just know whether you're like top 9% or not, which can be like a like advantage or disadvantage for some. For me, it was kind of an advantage, but yeah, just continue.
Yeah, I'd say that with that program that the UC system does have, like I guess it's good.
Hmm.
It does secure you a spot in a UC, even though it
Hmm.
might not be the UC that you want.
Hmm.
But usually if you are in the top 9%, you will get into at least one of the colleges.
Oh yeah, definitely for
Yeah,
sure.
even without that program, that's just a blanket for you if you don't get into any of the colleges you apply for.
Hmm.
It's usually like UC Riverside or UC Merced that they offer you a spot in.
She call it so. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, but like UCR, like sometimes people joke around and say like, "Oh, it's like UC rejects," but honestly, UCR is not that bad of a school. I would say probably like UC Merced is a little bit worse. Not gonna lie, but for those that only gone to UCR or gone to UCR and are going to UCR, don't say it's a bad thing too, because they do have a good bio and business program from what I've heard too. So don't take UCR too lightly, by the way.
Yeah, it's
But
just that like it's not that they're bad schools. It's just that
they're
Merced.
just not as like elite as like the UCLA's, the UC Berkeley's,
Yeah,
and then like the UCI's and stuff like that. Yeah,
for sure.
that definitely makes sense. What so your senior year when you're applying, what schools did you apply to in general?
So I wanted to make sure that I was in California just because like our taxes help pay for colleges.
Hmm.
And so I applied for UCs and Cal States. Um
Any
if
of
I
the
can
Common App?
remember. No, I didn't. I just only UCs and Cal States. I for sure knew that I didn't want to do private school just
Hmm.
because like even it does cost money, and even though they can guarantee you some money,
Hmm.
like there's I'm not sure about how much money I'm going to get and how much money I'm going to have to pay myself.
Mm. I'm surprised you took the ACT though, because it's like, I mean, from what I remembered is like not really like they cared more or less of one or the other, but like generally like when you're applying to like UCs and Cal States, like they're like SCTs are usually more looked at, and the ACTs is usually like kind of like more like common apps and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just wanted to take both because I did know like the SAT, if you guys haven't taken it yet, it's more geared it's more like math and English based, whereas the ACT is more math and science based.
Hmm.
And so I just wanted like I knew that science and math were my strong suit more so than English. So just having both of those tests, like it gave me some security. Everything's about security when it comes to college applications.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like for me, it was like I knew realistically, like I didn't want to go outside California. I wanted to stay as like local as possible. Possibly maybe like try to branch out to where like I could dorm, but I definitely wanted to stay in California for sure. So I ended up applying to all of the all the UCs and then all the Cal States. I do kind of regret not applying Common App, just because I did kind of want to see if I want to if I was able to get into like certain schools. But I mean, just knowing myself, I was pretty lazy, and like it's your senior year, you don't want to do that much work. I already hated writing to begin with, so the fact that I had to write, if I had to write for both Common App and the UC stuff, was like, nah, I'll just stick with the UC stuff. But I do encourage everyone just to apply to all schools that you're interested in as much as possible, even though you won't get into that school. At least you get that security knowing that, hey, like I was able to get in that school even though I'm not going there. I mean, within all the UCs, which ones did you get accepted into?
So for the UCs that I applied to UCLA, UC Davis, UC Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz,
Hmm.
Irvine, and Riverside. And the ones that I got, actually not Santa Cruz, San Diego. I applied to San Diego, not Santa
Uh-huh.
Cruz. But
Uh-huh.
the ones that I got into were UCI, UC Davis, and UC Riverside.
Mm.
And the other three, For Santa Barbara, I got waitlisted. The other ones I got rejected.
Oh, since we're talking about UCs in general, I know that they have waivers, right? You just if you guys didn't know, there's some waivers that you can fill out for, and then they'll give you like a certain amount of schools for free to apply to. Were you able to apply for that and get those?
Um, when I like, of course, there's all the scholarship options and the FAFSA and everything. When I got in to, um, actually, I don't know about
No, no, like
Riverside
like
or
like
Davis.
no, no, no. I'm
Yeah.
talking about like when you apply, it costs like about $75 per school just to send in your application. Did you get any waiver forms for those?
Um, I don't think so.
Uh, well,
Yeah.
I did personally. So for those out there watching, if you do qualify, maybe I don't know the full details, but do try to look if you guys can get some waiver forms just to fill out, just so that they can waive out your application fees. That's gonna help out a lot of money. I don't think everyone gets it, but I know a good amount of people can get it though. So it doesn't hurt to try, apply, and then you
Mhm.
turn in a free application and you don't have to waste $75. I definitely stayed within like I didn't spend it. I actually didn't spend any money when it came to college apps. So, just because of like my financial situations and everything, they gave me a certain amount of schools I could apply to. I just used up all of those, and then like I didn't even spend more just because I didn't want to spend money.
Yeah, I don't remember getting that, so I just applied for the schools that I felt that I had a chance in and I might want to go to.
I see. But yeah, for those watching, just check those out. Definitely check out scholarships too.
Mhm.
Honestly, you can gain a lot of money off of scholarships if you guys work really hard. Just kind of backtracking again. I'm kind of lazy. So I definitely was lazy. As my senior's like it's my senior year. I just want to relax, spend time with my friends. But like if money is an issue, or like you just want that extra cash, because that cash is just given straight up to you. It doesn't have to be used for exactly anything. They're just giving you that cash just in general if you do apply and get accepted. I just want to see that if you apply to any of the scholarships and got accepted.
I don't. I think I did apply for some scholarships, but then like those, I think it was like such a large amount of people
Mm,
applied for them, so I didn't get it. But like when you do accept your school, they will give you like I got grants from UCI.
hmm
I got health insurance waivers, so I did
hmm
manage to get some money from UCI that I didn't have to pay.
Yeah, that's true. Most schools will give you some kind of like grants. Depending on obviously your financial situation, you'll get more or less. But when it comes to FAFSA too, when if you do apply and you do get accepted, the earlier you guys apply, by the way, the more money you guys will get. Not saying like, oh, like you'll get more money, but it's more in the sense of like they'll guarantee you the money more than if you apply later. Like let's just say example, Michael is totally qualifies for getting like a full scholarship and everything. If he if he um if he applied later, then like he might not get the full scholarship because they only have a certain budget and a certain amount of money that they can work with just to give out. But if he applied earlier, he's more likely to get all that money. I know applications start like around like October, November, so it's like if just look into that too. And if you guys apply early, you're more likely just to get all the full money that you're gonna be guaranteed anyways, rather than applying like January, February, March and not get all the money that you wanted. Um, what was it? It's good to hear that. Was it that you would you say UCI was your dream school though?
I'd say yeah, that was for sure my top top of the list school,
Mm.
just because it's local, I can commute, so I don't have to
Did you want to
I can
commute in the
around.
first place though, or did
I
you want it to dorm?
honestly I never really thought about dorming. Like I
hmm
just knew that it'd be cheaper to commute. Of course, you do have to pay for gas, you have to pay for your car,
hmm
but ultimately, like dorming is so
It's a
much
lot.
more money.
Yeah, so much more
Yeah.
money. That's true.
So I always knew that, like, commuting, if I can commute, I will commute.
Mm, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, um I also got into UCI too, and I mean it's a good school at the end of the day, but I think kind of looking back, not gonna lie, I wish I had the chance to maybe possibly dorm. Um, it's obviously a lot more money, so that's why I didn't take it. But I mean, no matter what school you go to, at the end of the day, if I'm being honest, it doesn't really matter. It is to me. Well, to me personally, it is just a piece of paper certifying like you did finish college. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get at UCR or like Cal State or whatever school you do graduate from. At the end of the day, I can guarantee that just California education in general is definitely up there with when you think of like compared to all the other states. So it's like no matter what school you go to, don't be sad just because of the name. It doesn't really matter. It does really matter about whether that school is good at the certain major that you want, and that's the most important thing because it's like I can give an example actually. Like I have a cousin who wants to go into engineering slash aerospace engineering, and he's older than me, so and he just graduated recently, but he got accepted to a lot of schools, two of them being Purdue and Notre Dame. Obviously, when you hear Notre Dame, and especially with his dad, his dad wanted him to go to Notre Dame, but they checked out both campuses just by visiting, and prior to visiting those schools, my cousin already knew that Purdue had a lot better engineering program, but the dad wouldn't believe him just because it's Notre Dame. But then after checking out both schools, dad was like, you know what, you should go to Purdue. Purdue has a way better engineering program compared to Notre Dame. Notre Dame barely has anything. It's just for the name. And like he ended up being okay with it. Just some background on his dad too. Like his dad's an engineer too, which is why he was able to like understand a bit more about the education. But do definitely try to check out the schools. Don't go to the school just for the name because it's like if they end up not providing what you want, you're not going to be happy at the end of the day. I'll just be honest with that. So I mean, for those that do get into good schools and everything, or whatever schools, like congrats. But don't take the name too seriously because at the end of the day, it's about how much work you put in, your experience, and how good the major is at that school in order to teach you what you need. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's. I mean, we did kind of really did focus a lot about school. Let's kind of go back to like the main meat and main core of like why we started these podcasts. Just about your faith a little bit. Um, what was your experience like in terms of like your relationship with God? How close you were with Him, especially during those high school years? Because it's like obviously I would say like during like your middle school years, it's like most kids for the most part are like yeah, I'm just going through the practices of it, but starting high school is where you get a little bit more freedom, and then like college is where you get the most freedom. Just talk about your experience, like just your relationship with God.
Yeah. So, my family, um, my dad was born as a Catholic. My mom converted to a Catholic. So
Hmm.
when I was born, I was baptized. So as a kid, I did all the Catholic things. I received my first communion, all that stuff around like second grade when people normally expect you to do it. So I'd say that like those roots were really strong.
Hmm.
But when you started getting to high school and everything, that's when like all the emotions start hitting you. Like you're
Hmm.
gonna be super happy at one point because of this thing, and then like maybe an hour later you're gonna be super upset because this thing happened.
Hmm.
And so for me, I personally think that mental health and like your faith and your spirituality kind of go hand in hand. If one is at a high, then the other is going to be at a high, and if one's at a low, the other one's going to be at a low. So I talked
That's
about
interesting that you brought that up. Can you just kind of like elaborate more into it?
yeah. So like earlier, I talked about how I fell in a slump. Um, More specifically, during my sophomore and junior year,
Hmm.
that's when my grades started falling and everything. And one of the main reasons that I felt in that slump, like it wasn't just the grades. I felt like all my other classmates, they're taking the same classes at me as me, but
Hmm.
they're doing well in it. They're getting A's and B's, whereas I'm getting like an F on this test. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing for volleyball. We're on the same team, we're all teammates,
Hmm.
but you could tell that my my teammates, they were improving more faster. They were getting more time to play
Hmm.
just because like their skills were getting better at that rate. Whereas for me, I felt that like as much as I'm trying, it's not doing that well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fell in that slump. I felt that like I wasn't good enough. Um, is there a point in doing this if I'm not even improving and getting the results that I wanted? And so when it came to that time when I felt that like I didn't really enjoy those things,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's when my faith like started to fall. I started honestly, I started doubting for some of it. I was like, is there a reason that I should believe in all this stuff, in this religion that I was born in? And
Why did you doubt it? Like, I mean, not, I mean, obviously you doubted because of like also your mental health, but like, what did you doubt mainly when it came to your faith?
I'd say like it was mainly going through the motions. I felt like I said, I felt that I wasn't improving, so I wanted to keep on improving. So that's what I kept on asking for, and in the end, like I didn't feel sufficient enough to say that like pr- I was improving at a good rate. So I
Mm,
felt like why am I asking for this stuff if it's not going to be given to me?
mm,
Yeah. So in that slump, that's when I'd say my faith fell. Like it became weaker, just because I didn't really feel the love, and all I could feel was like the pressure that I was putting on myself,
mm-hmm.
and that I thought that other people were putting on me when even they didn't put any pressure on me. It was all from myself.
Mm. So at the end of the day, it was just all in your head. Like you felt like you're just adding all this pressure. Like obviously, there's gonna be certain pressures in the way of like expectations and standards at the end of the day. But you felt like you were mostly hurt because it was all going through your head.
Yeah. So like uh, you know, teenager years, you're going through puberty and everything, all the hormones. And
Mm-hmm.
so during the sophomore and junior year, like that's all I saw. But like once like senior year came around, first year in college, like I can understand more that, it's all in my head. Like I don't have to be thinking this way, but I chose to think that way just because I wanted to do so much when like, you have to pace yourself so your body can take its time and your mind can take its time that it needs.
Mm, I see. When it comes to you brought up a good point, like about what was it? You didn't have to put all this pressure on you at the end of the day. Um, did did you feel like your life wasn't like fully balanced in a way? If that makes sense
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah. So at school, I had classes, I was taking APs, I was in sports, I was in clubs. Outside of school, normally people would be like, oh, this is my relaxing time. But no, for me and my family, since my family does help out at church a lot, you
Mm-hmm.
know, weekdays were for school, clubs, and sports. Weekends were for helping around at church. So helping out at Bible school, helping out with youth ministry. And so I felt that I couldn't really get a break. And like as time kept on going by, I felt more that like, I'm just coming to church to do some work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not that's the only reason why I feel that I'm coming. Like I want it to be more, but in the end, just because I feel that that's the only thing I'm doing.
I see. But what kind of switched your mind after, or what did you do after once you realized, like I'm just putting in all this work. Like not only am I putting all this work for like school and extracurriculars, but I'm putting in all this work within the church. Like what what changes once you realize that? Um, what kind of changed for you? Because I'm assuming things got better.
Yeah, things did get better. So, this was around the time that I was getting out of that slump. That's when I started understanding, like, this is all in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying so hard. Since I'm an ambitious person, I'm trying so hard to get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
When, like, you do need to pace yourself, you want to make sure that you are conserving your energy so you can keep on doing it instead of burning out. And so during that time, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. Of course, I want to do this, but the things that I'm doing right now aren't necessary or they aren't that necessary that I must keep on doing it.
Hmm.
So I took a break from it. I tried doing some things that I enjoyed more, such
Hmm.
as at that time I was picking up like photography and editing, so I started
Hmm.
doing more of that. I also just tried to have a little bit more fun instead of being all work.
I see. Um, thank you for sharing that story, by the way. But I do think like within your story, I think as especially within like these past like I say like 2 years, your story does bring up two big topics that like are coming on the rise now, which is about mental health, but not only mental health, but balance. I don't think balance is talked about as much as mental health nowadays, but you can see like within I can totally see within your story that they both go hand in hand at the end of the day, you know, it's because it's like if you're not having a good balanced lifestyle, like that's just gonna mess with your mental health to begin with. So it's like you said, there are certain things that you're doing, even though you wanted to do them. Was it really a necessity? Like, was it necessary for me to do it? I think that's something that I started to realize. I would say, I think, say like last year, so about like where like your age right now too, because I'm just a year older than you, but but after high school, because high school we're so used to like a routine, like you know, block one, block two, or like period one, period two, lunch, and then it's like sports, go home, homework, blah blah. Like at least we had that routine set, you know, so we didn't have to think too much. But the fact that after college, you know, I mean not after college, after high school, you get so much more freedom. Um, no matter what situation you're in, it's like you can do whatever you want, right? And once you realize that you can do whatever you want and you do the things that you want to do, like sometimes you might overwork yourself or like you might do too much or you might just do too little, you know. It can go both ways, but balance is definitely a really important thing at the end of the day. I definitely can relate to your story in the sense of like there's a point in time, especially last year too, where I would just put on so much work on my end to the point where like I'm pretty sure you had this feeling too, but you basically just burnt out.
Yeah, for sure.
Once you start burning out, your your mental health just goes down, and then once it goes down, it's like you hit rock bottom, and you just don't feel good at all. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. Maybe some of the viewers that are watching this might not experience it, but I can guarantee you, there's gonna be a point in time where you're gonna have like a what was it kind of like a balance check and where you realize that like you're not doing enough of something or like you're doing too much of something, you know. Everyone's human at the end of the day, you know. Everyone does make mistakes. Not everyone will live a perfect life, so it's like I- I'm not it's not like a warning, but it's like do when things are going not in the best way possible, do try to have some time to self-reflect and realize what things that you're doing right, what things you're doing wrong, and what things you can fix. I think that's one thing that can help with balance at the end of the day. Something that I learned, honestly, from Anton, just like self-reflection, just give me some time and space just to relax a little bit, just to think about your own personal life and how things are going in your life. That can make so much of a huge difference because you'll be able to realize like, hey, like you know, I'm like, you know, why am I doing this? Or like, you know, I should just like lessen this or do more of this, you know. And it helps you finally figure out yourself at the end of the day. I feel like that's one thing. I feel like that's one thing in college that I definitely like the most. Is like you do get to find yourself truly and your values because your set of values kind of make you the person you are in the future too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like taking time to relax and reflect is super important. But of course, like as students, still, even though we do have this freedom, like
Hmm.
it's still important that we need to stop and tell ourselves, like, hey, you need to relax because there are things that you're still doing. There's things that you want to do more of. And so that's super, super important when it comes to like your mental health, your faith, and just your life balance. Because if you don't relax, then you won't really be able to see what you need versus what you want.
That's true. And it's like I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna have different wants and different interests. But at the end of the day, like just kind of realize like what do you need, and it's like don't and like whether am I doing too much of something, and it's like am I missing something out of my life to make me fully happy? Because it's like if you just keep work like on certain things, like you're just gonna burn out and you won't have any time just to relax and just do the things that you love, which is important because it's like if you're not happy at the end of the day, it's like there's no there's I don't know how to say it, but it's like that like you're not living life to its fullest if you're not happy at the end of the
Hmm.
day. You know what I mean? Um, well, so let's fast forward to like obviously we talked a lot about like all your high school stuff and your faith, especially during high school and college. How's and we kind of touched about this a little bit earlier, but how's your college experience been? Obviously, with COVID happening, like there's definitely been like a huge change. It's already a huge change that like you're a freshman, and college is already totally different from high school. But just kind of get a little bit more into that.
Yeah. So once again, as a first year at UCI, as a somebody who wants to go into the medical field, I feel that like the first year is really important that you try to figure out what you want and how you're going to get it. So for me, I tried to make sure to surround myself with the right people. So I joined clubs. One of the clubs I joined was for people that are the same major as me, who also commute, who aren't dorming, just so we know more people that are in the same boat as us, who
Mm-hmm.
want who are trying to get this similar goal in while we're all in a similar situation compared to the majority of the other people who are in a different situation. And so that was one club. Another club I joined was targeted more towards like preparing for grad school and pharmacy school. And so I feel that that was super important for me.
Mm-hmm.
And because of those clubs and those experiences and the people I met, I definitely felt more comfortable than I would have been if I was just going to school and going home.
That's true. One thing, kind of backtracking to high school. One thing that I do realize that helps me out a lot is like figuring out what you want to do before you head into college, because it's like if you kind of start to realize like you actually want to do something else, like while you're like in the middle of college, you just wasted certain years for certain classes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're able to figure that out beforehand, you're honestly at a good spot at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what school you go to. If you don't know what you're doing or you don't know what you want to do, or at least have an idea, then like I'll be honest, like you're kind of screwed in a way because it's like if you're just wasting your time at college and like you could be turning that time into like more focused on like the certain field or genre that you want to work in. Um, I'm assuming did you want to be a pharmacist before coming to college, or was it just like oh you kind of just took the major and then like you kind of realized like during college like you know what this is what I want to do?
I wasn't sure about a pharmacist specifically, but I did know that I wanted to go more into the medical field, more specifically medicine, partially because that's what my parents wanted, and partially because that's what I wanted. And so I knew somewhere in the medical field, whether it's becoming a doctor or a pharmacist, but after like the first few months, I came to realize I think pharmacy is the right thing for me, and it might not be, but that's what I think right now, and so I'm going to try to pursue that.
And it's really important that you did join that club, and kudos to you in the fact that like you figured out what you want to do, especially at this moment, because essentially there there's like kind of like a saying that I do believe in at the end of the day, which is like the people that you surround yourself with ends up making to the person that you are or the person that you will become. So it's like the fact that you know what you want and you found people that have the same goals and same situations as you, like not only are you guys all pushing each other to hit that certain goal, you're like those people around you kind of like standardize like oh like this is the person that I am slash will or want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I mean, and that's not saying like like neglect all the friends that won't push you more towards your career. You know, um, I'm not saying that like everyone can definitely have friends like like different group friends, and I think that's something that like I guess like it's not really talked about much like in college. Is like you have different like you had different groups for certain things. Like for example, it's like um was it like I'm assuming that you have your school friends, but at the same time, it's like you also have like your toonie friends, and then you also have like a different group of friends where you have fun. You know what I mean? It's just that the people that you surround yourself with at the end of the day just kind of make up a little bit of who you are and what people view you as. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like just obviously within college, like you only got to experience like what like only like a few months of like the actual college life until like quarantine happened. How has that changed like transitioning from being at school, commuting to stay home and learning?
I think that one good thing is that I get to stay at home. Of course, like that means when class starts at this time in the morning, I don't have to get up until that time. So
That's
that's a
true.
huge thing that I enjoy.
Especially
It's
if it's
all,
like at 8 a.m. Oh man, like I would have to wake up like at 6 and
yeah.
everything. And it's just like even the drive, because like I mean, I would say the 405 isn't as bad as like probably the 22 if you're going to like a Cal State, but like like even like going for me, I had to take the 405 to the 73, like that sometimes can be a little bit of a pain in the butt too.
Yeah, especially since like in morning traffic where rush hour is like 7 to 9, it
Uh huh.
takes an hour and a half just to get there.
Wait, it takes you like an hour and a half just for you to get to school sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Wow. I guess it's because where you also live too. You're
Yeah,
like kind of farther away to like the certain freeway that will get you to UCI. But dang, that sucks. Like you would have to, dude. I don't think I would. I think if I was in your situation, like I wouldn't even pick an 8 a.m. class. Like I'd probably just pick like a 9 or like a 10. Like there's no point. I'm not gonna wake up in time for
yeah.
that.
No, I had a 8 a.m. during my first quarter, and so I know like for sure that is not something I want to do again
Uh-huh.
unless it's like really worth it.
Yeah, that's true. Like that class has to be like one like your most favorite classes or like favorite professors or like just an easy class. Don't
Yeah,
if your ADM is like a hard class, dude, like good luck. Unless you're dorming, but like if you're as a commuter, dude, that's gonna suck a lot.
yeah.
But besides that positive of like not being able to or was it not having to drive so early to school? What else were some different changes because of COVID?
Um, for me, I am not good at online learning. I'm better at in person where I gotta like see these visual aids, I gotta take notes, I gotta interact with people.
Hmm.
So that is one of the hard things for transition to online learning.
Hmm.
There's this lack of motivation when you're
Oh,
at home.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, I mean, when honestly, like me staying at home right now is like, dude, I'm so lazy. Like I don't, I want to do certain things sometimes, but it's like, I just can't because like I'm so used to like doing my work outside of home, and at home I'm just like sleeping or like just not doing anything because that's just how my lifestyle is too. It's like home is just to like rest, but then it's like every day I'm always doing something outside the house. Like I'm literally not home from like I would say at least like from 2 to 3 p.m. all the way to like 10 p.m. And then like I get home, relax, sleep, and then I wake up and like I just do like small routines in the morning and then I just go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say that another thing is that like it's not just that too. There is like I'm at home. It's also even more difficult because each one of my classes they teach in a different way. So like
Mm,
one class actually has online lectures at the time that it's scheduled to. One class just sends videos that we need to watch and we need to do work. Another class is just completely online where we just take quizzes. Another one's just like they send us presentations with audio linked to it and we have to download the presentation and look over it. And so just all those differences, I feel that like that definitely made it a little bit more difficult than my first 2 quarters at school.
I definitely feel like a lot of people are like more scared and more worried, especially like coming into a test just because like you're not used to that type of learning and learning online and learning on like a screen isn't always like the best way because I mean I heard this too where it's like even just writing down notes and it's like seeing people write it and then you following them like will help you like retain the information more, but the fact that you're seeing everything online and then just writing it down, it's just like it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, what was it? Because of these different ways, have you been able to adapt at least though? because I mean, like everyone's gonna have, especially with things being so different, and even like with Cal States like already saying like, hey, like fall semester we're not gonna like go back to school, like we're still gonna be at stay home. Um, like, do you feel like if UCI were to say, you know what, like you're gonna have to stay home again for fall quarter, like would you be okay, or how do you feel?
I think that I'd still need a little bit more time to adapt. Like it's only been 8 weeks so far at the time of the recording of this
Hmm.
podcast, but by the time this podcast comes out, I'm pretty sure I'll still need like maybe a week or two more just to adapt more towards the learning style, and
Hmm.
hopefully we can go back to having in-school learning. But for UCI, at least, we don't know. We might have it, we might not. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I really do hope this does bring like a bigger awareness for teachers, where teachers can actually get paid more now, because now people can start seeing the value of having like good quality teachers and teaching. But we'll see how things go. And I think at this point, I think we'll just wrap it up here. Thank you so much, by the way, Michael, for coming on for this podcast and talking. Definitely not only talking about your faith, but also like more of the side of like your high school life, your college life, just so that like our viewers can kind of get a little bit more insight in how like their future might portray. Any last few words that you kind of have for our guests?
Just remember, balance is key to everything. Don't work yourself too much, but don't relax too much at the same time. And just make sure that you have a good understanding of what you need and take time to relax so you can remind yourself of that.
Let me add on also like not only is balance and mental health is key, but also do try to do what you like the most at the end of the day. You know, do what you love. Don't don't feel pressured because of don't feel pressured because of like certain things or certain stereotypes or standards or whatever it is. Do what you enjoy at the end of the day. I mean, obviously there is that reality of like we do need to, as adults, we do need to make money just so that we can survive. But if you can at least find a job where you can make the amount of money you need and enjoy it, like that's a win-win situation right there. Just don't feel pressured or forced to do something if that's not what you like, you know, because because that's just gonna affect your I feel like honestly long-term health. Um, Thank you so much again, Michael, for joining us. Just make sure to follow our Instagram at sbym.jp for updates on our podcast and some events. I know for this date that we're recording, we are doing like a League of Legends and Roblox thing. So, but it's gonna be what like way over by then. But we're gonna have so many more events. Just stay posted. Michael is the big man behind posting all the Instagram updates and posts. So, just stay updated. All right. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
listening in, and we'll see you guys soon. All right.
All right. See ya.
Peace.